You have 6 months from the date of my inauguration to go home, register, and apply to return. You will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. You'll have to pay a fine and get in line. That's really what the problem is. People who've just cut in line, they cut in front of everybody else. So from the date of my inauguration, anybody in Louisiana that's here illegally, they got 6 months to go home. After that, we're going to round you up. We're going to take
State police or
whoever.
ICE.
We're going to put a bounty on you. Whoever arrests you is going to get $100. How about we do it like that? I think you can get most of them by just pulling in Home Depot. They jump in the back of your truck. But we cannot have a society of crime. And you can't bring in thousands and thousands of people who aren't part of our system and don't believe in our government, don't believe in our history.
We've had more illegals coming here since Katrina. I mean, we're flooded with them now.
We can't have any illegal. If you're here illegally, go home. You got 6 months. Go get in line, register, and if you do it the way we want you to, you'll have a chance of coming back. If we have to arrest you and detain you and turn you over to ICE, you're never going to come back. Period. And also, we're going to purge all people who are illegal from receiving any welfare, food stamps, or health care of any government services, period. You're going to be purged. You're not going to get it. You don't deserve it. You don't belong here, and you're going to go home.
Man, is there a more despicable white fool than Mitch Landrieu? This guy is the worst white dude I have run across in a long, long time. I mean, no shame at all, no class, and an absolute straight-up liar. I mean, this guy is just despicable, and I can't stand it.
Well, I encourage you to hang on because we're going to hear from his cousin, a conservative Landrieu, who's running for governor of Louisiana, Gary.
One of the things going to be working against him is his last name, I would think.
Yeah. Gary Landrieu. He's cousins to Mitch Landrieu, but he's a conservative Landrieu, running as an independent. And we just heard Chad saying that, he's open to hearing about different candidates for governor, but he's leery about anyone named Landrieu because he is not a liberal Democrat.
I hope you win, sir. I really do. It's time for a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
I truly hope that the same scratch record doesn't keep happening where one that runs for liberal and non-liberal gets elected, and then right off the bat, they jump right into the absolute nightmare. My question to you is about New Orleans City Council. If you were elected, you would be going through what President Trump is going through right now and dealing with those that would not want you to be elected. How could you bring everybody to the table and say, let's change New Orleans and make it better for the people who live there?
The reason why New Orleans is suffering is because it's poor. We can solve that and change that by bringing in the 250,000 jobs and widespread Las Vegas-style gaming. It would be an incredible economic stimulus for our area, for our state, and it would pretty much solve all the revenue problems, not only for the city of New Orleans, but for the state government. When you're dealing from a perspective of prosperity, everybody gets along a lot better because there's a bigger piece of pie for them. That doesn't mean we're going to spend more money. It just means we're going to have more assets available for government, maybe pay down the debt, maybe do some different things. The problem with the city of New Orleans is the first thing Mitchell did was turn the police department over to the Obama-era Justice Department.
Terrible.
The first act as mayor was to sign a takeover of the police department, and then he went into the consent decree. And I don't know if people realize that's $60 million a year that's being paid to run that consent decree. So
we need to run our own police department, don't we?
Why do we even have a New Orleans police department? Now, I love the New Orleans police department. He beat me up when I was a kid. They beat me up when I was in my teens. They beat everybody up. Do you know that the New Orleans Police Department used to arrest 50,000 people a year? Now, do the math on that. In 10 years, that's 500,000 people. That's like everybody in the city of New Orleans got arrested. And you got an arrest record. I mean, it was crazy. They arrested everybody. So we're going to do major criminal justice reform. The police aren't going to be arresting anybody anymore. They're going to be able to detain you. They'll bring you to the police station. There'll be a magistrate that's sitting there. The magistrate's going to decide whether you'll be arrested or not and what you're going to be charged with. That's one of the biggest problems. The police, they arrest people, charge them, they put them in a system, and at the end of it, they drop the charges, and the people are let go. The problem is they got an arrest record for the rest of their lives, and then they have to pay all this money, and they can't fix it. It's a big, giant problem. So we're going to change that. There's another problem, too. The Fireman's Trust Fund, I think it's a $60 or $80 million pension fund that was controlled by the Morial administration, and it was forced to go into some type of crazy 12% return on investment for it to succeed, and it got like 3%. And so that's the reason why the firemen had all this trouble for all these years, because their pension fund was invested in a failed vehicle.
Right.
Let's find the people who did that and charge them for making those bad mistakes.
Let's tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, if you could, your background.
61 years old. I've been a businessman since I'm 9 years old. I tell people I started working when I was 9. I had a paper route. I sold seeds door to door. I had a lawnmower. We were altar boys, and so my entire life has been in the field of being an entrepreneur, having a business, and employing people and creating jobs.
What sort of businesses?
Construction, home improvements. I worked for Leon Zeiler for 4 years at LAS Enterprises, and I went into my business in 1985 and did that for almost 20 years.
Did you enjoy that business?
I did, really. I liked it a lot, and you get to meet people. I did about 10,000 jobs,
Wow.
which was a lot.
Yeah.
Fixed all the houses.
So tell us what you did after that.
I retired at 42, took some time off, bought a marina at the Wrigley's and spent some time there. And then Katrina hit, of course. Went back into business to help fix the city.
Yeah.
And we did pretty good. We fixed all of Shane Funeral Homes. They had to get them back open again because they were paying a lot of money to keep them closed. And so I did that for 3 years and then went back to the marina and redeveloped the marina, and I've been there ever since. Of course, in the meantime, I've got an 8-year-old. He was born in 2011.
And he's here with us in person in studio. We're glad to have him. Obviously, through the years, business, he started having an interest in politics.
You can't not look at the world and realize that you have to become involved, and it's something you have to do. I've spent my entire life watching my family do what they do and being involved in what they do. Since 1967, when Moon was elected to the city council, 66 actually, we went around in baby carriages with my mother door to door, and we were knocking door to door, licking and sticking. So my entire life has been spent in the political arena.
Right.
I try to explain to people the difference between the M. Landrews and the J. Landrews. The M. Landrews are all the Moon's kids, Moon and Verna's kids. They have 9 kids. My daddy and mother, Phyllis, had 10 children. They grew up in a family where their father was a politician. He served in public office, and he was the mayor, and he was secretary of HUD. So everybody that they knew and everything that they did was involved with the political world and with people who were in the political world.
Right.
My daddy was a businessman.
Yeah.
So he sold life insurance for Roland Hemel right here. We spent all our lives in the business world. That's why we had lawnmowers and we had sold seeds door to door, and we had we did all the things that we could do to make money. So we grew up in a different environment.
So 2 branches of the family.
Correct.
They grew
up in a branch where government was the center of the world, and we grew up in a branch where you had to be an entrepreneur and provide for yourself and be independent and take care of yourself. And so the 2 philosophies don't merge. So sooner, all of a sudden, one day they realized that we weren't like them anymore, and they didn't like us anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a family squabble, or
no? They don't talk to us. I was invited to Mitchell's inauguration at Gallier Hall out in the street, and it was a beautiful day. Mitchell gave a great speech, and they never spoke to us again.
Wow,
that was 10 years ago.
You haven't seen him since? Haven't talked to him since?
No, you
don't have family get-togethers?
He changed his phone number. He refused to talk to people. He kind of did that to everybody, to be honest with you. It's kind of strange. He didn't talk to anybody.
Wow.
Much less us. But they realized that we weren't like them. We weren't the gurus of. We don't believe that government is the center of the universe.
Right. Obviously, you have a different philosophy, political philosophy.
I do.
What would you say your political philosophy is?
Limited government, reduced size of government. We're in a place now where I don't think our founding fathers ever dreamed that we would have a government like we have now, where it's oppressive. The taxes are to a point where I don't think people can pay any more than they pay. A lot of money's being wasted. So many people working for the government. I mean, we're not that far away from socialism, and that's not what this country was all about. It wasn't founded on that.
We have a governor now who's coming up for re-election. You've decided to throw your hat in the ring. Obviously, you're doing that because you don't think the current governor is doing a very good job.
He told a lot of untruths to get himself elected about what a conservative he was on different platforms. One was abortion, one was his fiscal conservatives. None of those came true. And I'll be honest with you, I've never met a person who voted for him. I can't figure out who's the 500,000 people who voted for him because I never met one of them. But yeah, we have completely and entirely different philosophies. Since he's been governor, he's grown the size of government by 24%. And that's just completely unsustainable.
He has got $8.4 million in his campaign war chest. So a lot of these insiders and people that have money, businessmen and others, are just flooding his campaign coffers with money.
I don't think you can buy the people of Louisiana.
So that doesn't bother you? He's got all this money?
No, because his name recognition is not the name recognition that I have. People know who the Landrews are. I just have to distinguish myself from the Landrews of the other side of the family. And this will be my 5th campaign. And for the Senate, I got over 50,000 votes. Win, lose, or draw, I'm in this race. I'm going to run. I'm going to go on the streets. We don't have the money. Of course, we don't have $10 million. But we think that if we can attract enough attention to the campaign and people recognize that I am the conservative that they're looking for, then the fire will burn and it'll catch on.
So you've run before, and I do know you've run pretty well against Cedric Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, for Congress. You had a pretty vigorous campaign against him, didn't you?
He did. Unfortunately, I finished with 26% of the vote. He got 52.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. ago. Since then, he's become the chairman of the Black Caucus in Washington.
Yeah.
But talk about a guy that's completely out of touch with New Orleans and Louisiana. He's been now, I don't know, 8-10 years now.
Yeah.
What has he done? Nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I can't understand about these guys. They all go in the political world and they end up doing nothing, but they get reelected over and over and over again.
And sorry to say, but I'd say that about, your cousin Mary and Mitch.
I don't have any words for them today.
All right. We'll weave in a few calls here. We're visiting with Gary Landry, candidate for governor. Our friend Bill is checking in on the West Bank. What's going on, Bill? How are you? Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. I have a simple question. In what year was the last time you were either not in public office or running for something in public office?
When was the last year you're either not in public office or running for public office?
I've never served in public office, which I think is an asset.
Uh-huh.
That way I'm not stained by any past relation to failure, because most of where we are
When was the last time you were not running for public office?
This will be my 5th time running. I'm trying to inspire other people to run for office. You tell me why no one runs for office today. Why don't you run?
Hey, you know why I don't run? Because the system has made it to where if you don't have at least $1 million in your coffers, sir, you're not even invited to the debate on stage.
That's correct.
Tell me if that's fair,
That's
sir.
correct. It's not fair. It's completely unfair. As a matter of fact, I went to the
Do
Jefferson.
you have an extra $1 million?
No,
sir?
I don't have $1 million to throw into this
Don't
kitten.
throw it back on me.
Well-
Don't throw it back on me, because I asked you a simple question that you might be uncomfortable answering.
No, I'm not uncomfortable answering. My question is, well, you can run for office, and that's what I'm trying to do, is inspire people that they know that they can do this. You can go sign up. You can run for public office. Go put your name on the ballot and give it a
The
shot.
only thing you're inspiring me is to think that you're nothing more than a politician.
Well, do you know what the definition of politician is? It's a person who is the master of compromise. And I'm going to tell you, there is no compromise in me. My principles are what they are, and I will not compromise my principles. And just because I've run for office before, I'm trying to inspire other people. Now, if I could cause John Bel Edwards to lose this race by taking 150,000 votes away from him, then I've done my job.
So you've run for Congress and the Senate.
And I ran for council at large. That's
Council at large. Okay. So first time running for governor.
first time. But it's the second statewide election.
Gotcha. It's WGSO, 990 AM, WGSO.com. More with candidate for governor. All right, very pleased to have with us in person, in studio, gentleman who wants to be our next governor of Louisiana. He's got a well-known last name, Landrew, first name Gary, and he's a businessman. He's run for office before. Is this going to be on a shoestring budget, Gary? Or are you going to try to, you have a goal to raise a lot of money?
I think we're going to be in the $250,000 range before it's finished, or more.
Yeah.
I think as soon as people recognize that they can get a governor that they want, and a governor that shares their values, and a governor who's going to take action. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to need 8 years to do what I got to do. We're going to do one terms, 4 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be boasting, but I mean, these people get in the political world and they seem like they want to stay there forever.
Right. You want this just to be temporary?
I'm going to get in there, and the first day I'm going to introduce legislation to make Las Vegas-style gaming in New Orleans, and we're going to try and change the way that we do business here with one casino. I drive to Mississippi, and I see 16, 18 casinos. It doesn't make any sense. As soon as you cross the Louisiana border, the streets are paved in gold. Come back to Louisiana, and you got one little casino down here. We're going to do Las Vegas-style gaming, and we're going to bring another 10 million visitors to the city. And with that, we're going to bring $4 billion in revenue for the state and 250,000 jobs. Now, anybody wants to be against that, I welcome to try, but we're going to force that through.
Is that the number one issue on your platform?
Well, that's the primary issue that's driving all the other issues. The reason when New Orleans is in the situation that it's in, and I have to tell you honestly, if New Orleans goes down the drain, the state goes down the drain. Because
Well, isn't New Orleans going down the drain or not?
it's been going down the drain for 40 years.
Yeah.
we got like one more
Yeah,
swirl.
it's going down.
We're
Right.
going to hit our teeth on the toilet bowl, and we're gone.
But then, I go to like a GNO Inc. meeting, okay, and they're touting all these successes and all these businesses coming here. Not talking about all the ones leaving, but, talking about the ones coming in and everything. It seems to be people have different views. Some believe things are going great. Others have a more pessimistic view. I continue to say public safety is the number one issue, and we're not doing a good job of keeping the residents and the tourists safe here.
Well, the people who think it's wonderful haven't been shot at yet.
Yeah.
I've been shot at twice in the city, and I've been in a gunfight once. My little boy was with me on Canal Street about a year ago. We had a very serious confrontation. The crime is rampant. People from out of the parishes don't come to New Orleans like they used to. They're scared to death of coming here.
Yeah.
The traffic cameras give them a ticket.
Yeah.
Get their cars vandalized. They just don't want to come here. So New Orleans is suffering. You know, they're bringing in a lot of new residents. I understand. And people came to New Orleans after Katrina and they saw the place and they said, wow, you can buy a mansion on St. Charles Avenue for $1 million and live like a king of Rex. So a lot of people were attracted to come here, but that's going to wear off pretty quickly.
Harry in Harvey checking in. What's going on, Harry? Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to say that last caller kind of sounded a little bit like Mitch to me, Mitch Landrieu. But,
That was Bill on the West Front.
If it wasn't him, it was certainly somebody from the left side of your family. You know? I've always said that if I had ever run for any office, my platform would be, I'm going to tell you, elect me, and I will tell you where the money is going. That's what I would say.
Full transparency as far as the budget.
I will tell you where your tax dollars are being spent. I wouldn't say anything else. I don't know.
Is that the big issue to you? How they waste the money up there?
Absolutely.
It's all about the money anymore.
Any level of government. Look at where does the money go? We have a street where they collect money to repair streets. Where's the street repairs?
Yeah.
The infrastructure. You know, I mean, it's just everything.
Right.
So that would be that's what I would tell everyone. I'll tell you where the money. You can add stuff to it, of course, but the important thing is I'm going to tell you where the money's being spent.
So you think Gary should adopt that as part of his platform?
Well, at least a piece of it, yes.
Well, that'll be part of what we accomplish is to we're going to end the waste of government money.
Yeah.
I drive past Jazzland every day.
Yeah.
The city still owes $30 million on that project. Its taxpayers are still paying for that. What person would stand on top of that levee and say, hey, let's build a $50 million project over here in the swamp with the mosquitoes and think it's going to succeed?
Right.
Other than somebody that's got some government money.
Yeah.
Because it's not their money, it's the taxpayers' money. Who cares about the taxpayers? Well, I'm a taxpayer.
Yeah.
And I do.
It's Ringside on WGSO. Gary Landrieu with us here in person in studio, announcing his candidacy for governor of Louisiana. The website, Gary?
GoGaryGovernor.com.
GoGaryGovernor.com. Check it out.
Spell it either way, Cajun way or regular way.
That's pretty good. You got it both ways. That's good. That's very good. Let's welcome Zach.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning. And to the man that is running.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you,
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm glad you can get these somebody on here that runs. Most of them try to hide from you, Jeff, because they can't handle.
I know. Well, his cousin's hiding from me because I invited him on after he wrote his book, and they won't come on. And the governor's hiding from me. John Bell Edwards.
Johnny Bell.
He won't come on. We've had his other opponents on, but I have to say I haven't been real impressed with Ralph Abraham or Eddie Rispone. Haven't been impressed. Sorry. I mean, that's just my honest view.
I have a cousin that we don't speak. She's from California, moved to Tennessee, and I had to tell her the truth about illegals, but she just can't handle the truth. But that's the way liberals are. So I understand him with his cousin, and I really don't care. I don't care one hair for his cousin with his ignorance, But my friend, what's your name again?
Gary Landrieu. Gary Landrieu.
Gary.
Mr. Gary, I'm going to call you because I don't like the name Landrieu. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just don't like
That's why it's Go Gary Governor.
Yeah,
Right.
Mr. Gary. I like Gary.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Gary. A politician, the exact definition is a person who is professionally involved in politics, especially as a holder for a candidate for an elected office. Now,
or the master of compromise.
Some politicians, they become an order of science. That's why they call it political science, to get it down to science in order to manipulate people and play on the emotions. But you as a businessman, because I as a businessman, and I think, and congratulations on your 8-year-old. I got a 9-year-old.
Thank you.
Awesome. They're awesome at that age, man. They're so beautiful the way they bloom and
I
excel.
found out the hardest thing in the world to do is to get an 8-year-old to brush his teeth.
I know. I'm constantly telling them, put the deodorant on. You want to be called stinky in school?
Yeah.
yeah. Same with the teeth. I said, just like you brush your teeth, put the deodorant on. But look, 2 quick questions.
Yes.
Will you stand by another businessman as the leader of this country, Mr. President Trump, on his agenda? That's
Absolutely.
number 1 question.
Absolutely.
And amen. Because
I hope I can get his endorsement. If I get President Trump's endorsement, this race is over. And I think if he hears my message, I'm going to tell y'all a little story. Y'all probably never heard this, but as a Gary Landrieu, I went to Republican fundraiser in Baton Rouge when I was running for the U.S. Senate. And I went in, and they couldn't believe that Landrieu actually came in. Carla Fiorina was the guest speaker. I think you might have been there,
Yeah.
Jeff. And I went in, I shook everybody's hand and talked to everybody. I just couldn't believe that Landrieu actually was like them, that had conservative values. And they all asked me what I was going to do in Washington. I said, Washington's a cesspool of cronyism and corruption. I'm going to go there and I'm going to drain the swamp. I told that to 200 people. The next week, I heard that come out of President Trump's mouth. So I take credit for that.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
See, you're a man just like Mr. President Trump that brings common sense to the table, which these people today, especially these Democrats and some of these dumb Republicans, are falling into that trap. They are educated intellectuals, the intellectuals by the Department of Education, which they're not in touch with the reality of what's really going on with the people in the neighborhoods and the educational system. They are training them to be book smart. They're not training them to be common sense smart, which overrides book smart. If elected, you're not going to let yourself get bought off, influenced like a lot of these morons go and get influenced by the majority that have been there a while.
No.
I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, brother.
All right, sir.
No,
All right.
no, you're not going to be able to buy me. I'm not for sale, and I will not compromise my values.
You're running as an independent, correct?
Correct. There are 1.2 million registered Democrats in Louisiana, 980,000 registered Republicans, and there's 780,000 registered independents. So
you want to be the candidate of the independents?
Well, someone has to represent the independents. Plus, I am independent. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I think the Republican Party has a very attractive the way they think and the way they act and the things they do. Unfortunately, I think that they have contributed over the years to allowing the Democrats to do what they've done.
Oh, no doubt.
So,
no doubt.
I think as an independent,
partners in political crime.
I would say, I didn't want to be that stringent, but that's what it is. I think if I get half the independents to support me and vote for me, the election's over. We welcome all immigrants that come here legally.
Well, a little breath of fresh air here this morning here. But Jeff, I wanted to bring up, and maybe you can talk it over here with Mr. Landrieu here. Last week, I sent you that announcement from Mayor Cantrell and New Corp and NOLA Business Alliance and partners that unveiled a $5 million Build NOLA Mobilization Fund, which was to raise capital from NGOs, and even the city itself was putting up money, and they're using all of this to form opportunities to give people, the entrepreneurs, them capital to access capital. But the only problem, it's only for people of color, a few women, no white people need apply. It's totally anti-white people.
I would say that sounds racist to me.
The whole process, the whole announcement here that I've read through, and I've read about New Corp.
Yeah.
I'm reading about all of the things that they're involved with, all these NGOs. This is not the first one. Under Mitch, there's been bunches of them. Andy Copland's involved in this, as president and CEO of the Greater New Orleans.
He's a hardcore liberal. Yeah.
Right, and whole I don't, and this is not just New Orleans. This is going in cities all across the United States.
Yeah.
NGOs mobilize with using capital from somewhere, but then when you trace the capital back, I did trace the capital back, and it goes all the way back. New Corp is funded by the Justice Department. It's coming out of the Justice Department. So taxpayers in America are paying for this thing to discriminate against white people.
Yeah.
You can't get access to entrepreneurs.
All right, so we only got a minute for Gary. So what do you want to ask Gary? Whether he approves of the program?
Well, Gary, you need to look at some of this stuff, because it's like, what good is it to take over a city or a state?
Yeah.
And operate when everything is anti-white people. Why are white people going to want to come here?
Yeah.
Well, affirmative action has been around way too long. It created a lot of problems with the people who were the beneficiaries of it, because unfortunately it put people in places that they didn't belong or didn't earn. And when you do that, it's like giving a trophy to somebody and they didn't win the prize.
Yeah.
So it creates a problem. We're going to look at all of the money that the state has and the cities, and we're going to make sure that the money's being applied in the areas of government where government is supposed to be involved. Government's not supposed to be out here building Aretha Castle Haley boulevards and giving $28 million to put a grocery store that is closed and defunct now.
Which grocery store is that?
The one that was on Aretha Castle Haley over, it was some fancy grocery store they put up over there. It never even lasted a couple months.
Yeah.
So from the perspective of what I see a world that is backwards. That we can fix because the wrong people have been in government, the wrong people have been running our governments, and all we have to do is put in the right people. I tell you all the time, there's 535 people in Washington, D.C. You replace every one of them, and you can replace the way the government runs. You can do the same thing with the governor. This governor that we have today, nobody voted for him. I don't know. I haven't met a person yet that voted for him. Nobody wants him. We don't like any of the things that he's done. All he did was raise the taxes, lie to everybody, terrorize everybody about cutting the school systems, and the kids aren't going to get anything, and kick everybody off the healthcare systems. That's not going to happen in my administration. We're going to tell you the truth. We're going to manage the money well.
Can you hang with us a few more minutes? All right, good. Let's do another segment. Gary Landry with us. We'll get to more of your calls at 504-556-9696. Jeff Crouere here at Ringside on WGSO. All right, we'll continue with our special guest here in person in studio, candidate for governor, independent, Gary Landry, Trump supporter. Also going to crack down on immigration, some of the pieces of his platform. How are you going to deal with the city council in New Orleans that's going to be opposed to your agenda if you're elected governor? And are you going to do anything to try to help the DA in Orleans Parish get some more money to do his job?
Leon Cannizzaro is a very unique person, and he's extremely committed to providing the attitude of law enforcement to everybody and across the board. And I've told him in person, I've got a love-hate relationship with him because you love him, but at the same time you hate him because if you get on the wrong side of the law with him, he's going to put you in jail. But I think that the alternative of the other guy that wants to be district attorney, he's going to let everybody out of jail, and they're going to run the streets, and they're going to murder everybody. I mean, people don't understand. When you're running the government, you don't do your job, people get killed. And maybe it won't be you or your family, but somebody else's family is getting murdered.
And as far as the city council being opposed to you, if you're governor, you're not going to have to. Are you going to deal much with the New Orleans City Council? I mean,
Huey Long had a solution for the city government in New Orleans. He sent his state troopers over here, and he took control of city government, and he put machine gun nests. I don't know, you can look this up for yourself. But he didn't fool around. He did what he needed to do, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm not saying we're sending machine guns to the city of New Orleans.
National Guard? Should the National Guard come here?
If we don't solve the problem of crime in the city of New Orleans and take the attitude that crime is a bad thing and that vagrancy is standing on the corner and being a hobo and a bum and bumming from everybody in the French Quarter and walking around and scaring away the tourists, we're going to lose our tourist industry. And when they lose the tourist industry, there's nothing left to replace it with. We've already lost most of the jobs in the port. We lost all the oil and gas businesses. And in the 80s, I was in the tourist business, and man, it was unbelievable when the guys would come in town. They'd spend a lot of money. They're down to the tourist business left. And if we lose that, it's over. And the city's just going to die on the vine. In fact, probably lose the Saints after we lose the tourist industry. But we can solve all that problem if we just need leadership. I can provide the leadership. I can provide the determination to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And I can also provide the money, which is going to bring in the Las Vegas style game. And I think they're all banking on this anyway, because building all of these hotels and investing all these billions of dollars, they got to be thinking that down the road somewhere, somebody's going to bring in Las Vegas style gaming in New Orleans.
You know, a lot of the buildings in the CBD, I used to work in the CBD. I work in the CBD now, but I used to work years ago with my dad, and we were at the FMBC building filled with offices across the street, filled with offices. Now they're all turned into, timeshares and condos and hotels. Apartments. So you don't have those businesses anymore in the CBD.
Well, it's a good thing because people want to move back to the central business districts. It's about 15 or 18,000 people. It's one of the fastest growing areas of the city. But that's not what's going to create the economy for the city of New Orleans. What has to create the economy is jobs. And 250,000 jobs is about twice as many as the entire tourist industry produces now. There's about 125,000 jobs. $4 billion a year. Just imagine the state could recover $4 billion a year and add that to its coffers. And then go back and cut $4 or $5 billion out of expenses. You're talking about a big deal. I got a little analogy. There's a country in the world that's the same size as Louisiana, has the same population as Louisiana, is in the same business as Louisiana, oil and gas. Guess how much money they have in the bank?
Okay, tell me what country you're talking about.
It's Norway.
Okay.
they have $1 trillion in the bank. How much does Louisiana have in the bank?
Yeah.
Goose egg.
Yeah.
Goose eggs.
Right. All right, let's squeeze in some of these calls. Gary Landry with us, Jeff Crouere here. Our friend Adam with us in Pearl River. How you doing, Adam? Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning,
Adam.
to your guest.
Good morning.
Jeff, I'm just beginning to get ready to do my research for gubernatorial candidate, and so I don't know much about Mr. Landry yet. I'm listening to what he says, but I never go just by what candidates.
Now, we're going to link to his site, Adam. You might want to check out Gary's site and do your research there as well. And give out that site again, Gary.
GoGaryGovernor.com.
GoGaryGovernor.com.
Right. So I'm hoping that he has some demonstrable accomplishments in his background.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. But I'll just say this, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
If John Bel Edwards gets reelected, we've got a Democrat liberal who is currently, you might say, on the moderate side, but with no reelection to face with 4 years down the road. You will see a
super left
moderate liberal revert into a radical liberal in John Bel Edwards.
Yeah.
So if Gary...
the truth's going to come out in the next term, for sure.
By any chance wins the primary, I'll vote for him with my eyes closed. And I'll vote for any conservative with my eyes closed. But I'm hoping that he has some demonstrable accomplishments in his background, and I'll consider him seriously.
Thank you.
But we cannot reelect another Democrat.
Oh, no.
Who will roam free
We
without
can't.
being answerable.
Yeah, we have got to come together and make sure that he does not win a second term. He's been bad enough. I give him very low marks for his first term, be even worse in his second term. Now, remember when he ran for election the first time, he was this conservative, pro-military, pro-life, kind of a guy who was going to be this new kind of Democrat.
Big sales pitch.
Yeah, he's been the same old kind of Democrat, hasn't he?
He's been even worse.
Yeah.
Because he's supporting the sanctuary cities. It's going to make a sanctuary state. If you elect him, we're going to have a sanctuary state. I'm telling you right now, you make me governor, they got 6 months to go home. I've been to their countries, and I don't know what their problem is. Okay, they're beautiful. They got little islands down there where everybody lives. All the tourists go down there. And I don't know. They only, it's time to go home. If you're here illegally, go home. I'm going to send you home. If you're going to be, you got 6 months to do it voluntarily. If you don't do it voluntarily, I'm going to wind you up, and you're going to put your bags in a bus, and you're going home. I'm telling you right now.
All right, Adam from Pearl River, thank you, my friend. Let's go up to Baton Rouge and check in with Ed. Ed, how are you doing? Good morning. Welcome.
I'm doing great. I woke up again this morning, and good morning to you two gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
What a fresh breath of air I'm getting out of my radio speakers today.
That's great to hear.
I'm not sure if y'all are aware, but Mr. Bel Edwards' prison reform bill, when he released, the media told us it was 1,900 inmates. Well, that turns out to be only state custody inmates. The number was close to 9,000 between the sheriff's departments across our state. And for this Sheriff Larry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Jerry Carpenter of Terrebonne Parish.
Okay.
He had 2 reoffenders already commit murder.
From what I understand, Ed,
blood on his hands.
Ed, from what I understand, there have been 6 of the people that he sprung from prison that have been charged with murder. 6 of them.
Right. And 20% have reoffended. This governor has blood on his hands, and we can't let him get reelected again.
Yes.
That's pretty much what I got to say right now. It's just mind-boggling because I'm trying to help a victim whose husband was murdered. And
let me know if I can help you with that, Ed. And
Jeff, you sure have already, because you had Mr. Irv Magri on your show.
Oh, yes.
And I contacted that gentleman, and he and his team has jumped in with both feet.
Good.
And it has really helped us out. And thanks to him, we got to go up to Baton Rouge and speak to that committee last Tuesday.
That's great.
To get them to enforce the law on the books about the death penalty.
Yes.
I'm tired of them selecting and choosing the laws they want to enforce.
I am too. And Ed, I'm so glad to hear that. That really warms my heart. And anything else I can do, let me know. And I'm glad that Irv has been able to help you. And Irv, of course, runs Crime Fighters, and they do tremendous work. Thank you very much for your call. That's Ed in Baton Rouge. Gary?
I keep reading every day about the people who are commuting the sentences of the people who have been sentenced to death. And, if the jury sends you to death and you get put in prison, you need to go to death. There's no reason why we shouldn't have capital punishment. It's a punishment It's not fair for the victims of crime to keep these people around forever and ever and ever and let them go and put them off a death row. These politicians that get elected, they pretend they're one thing, and then they get in office and they act like something else altogether, and that's not going to happen here.
John Bel Edwards won't give us his opinion on capital punishment. We don't know where he stands.
Well, you know where
on
he
the
stands.
issue.
He's a liberal. He's a mind-broken liberal. You can't fix their minds. You just have to take power from them. Take the money and the power away from these people and give it to the people like me and Donald Trump, and we're going to do what we need to do. Donald Trump isn't scared to do what he's got to do. He goes home. He's got a beautiful wife and a wonderful life. He's not scared to do the job. He's trying to save his country, and I'm trying to save the same things as him.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to ask Mr. Gary a question.
Yeah.
You know, Alabama and Georgia and many states have passed laws protecting their veterans' monuments. And we had overwhelming support for that. And that stupid clown over there, Don Lario, along with his clown for governor, both shoved it over into that liberal bunch to decide.
I hear your question coming. I'm going to answer it this way. I was standing in front of the Jackson Monument in Jackson Square last weekend, and I overheard a guy standing next to me telling a group of people that he was with, "We're going to tear this statue down next. This racist Jackson statue is coming out of here."
Right.
Okay, and I thought to myself, no, it's not. You're not tearing the statue down. You're not tearing any more statues down. Make me governor, and we're not going to tear down any more statues. How about we go on moonwalk and tear Moon statue down and tear Mitchell statue down? What would they think about that? History is history. You got to learn from history. Okay, and it was one of the worst events in our city in the last decades is when Mitchell tore those statues down. It was extremely divisive.
Yeah. What should happen, and Kenneth, thank you for your call, sir. What should happen to those monuments?
They should be put up somewhere else. You know, and
in the city or outside of the city?
We'd have to have they never let the voters have a choice. The voters is what's supposed to be running things here, not the people just do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
So let's ask the voters what to do.
Yeah.
It's their statues.
Hey, good morning to you guys. How you making?
Good morning, Roy.
Hey, let me ask you, and I'm coming in kind of late to the conversation, so forgive me. Are you related to Mitch in Maryland?
We've been through all that. Yeah, that's it. He's a cousin.
My daddy and Moon are brothers. Moon had 10 kids, and we had 10 kids. Moon had 9 kids.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, just before I get into my question.
Yeah.
When they have Thanksgiving dinner, do they invite you?
Not anymore. We don't go over there anymore.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, I went for Endymion Parade to Moon's Box. Because it only passes by Girard Street, doesn't pass by my mother's house. And I took my little boy to see the parade, and they were gracious hosts. They were very nice. Moon and Vern, she's my godmother.
Yeah.
We went to watch the parade over there with William, and they were very nice to him.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. Look, first, 2 quick points. This ITEP program, where he's allowing, school board, police juries to now make calls on who and who does not.
They don't have the qualifications to make those decisions.
Good, I agree 1,000%. What he's doing is running business off in this state instead of attracting business. Number 2, this Medicaid expansion.
Yes.
Okay,
good question.
We've expanded 480,000 people. Right off the bat, they had 85 million in fraud. And this airhead, Rebecca G, says we're going to now have, good business practices. And it's costing the taxpayers $150 million just to provide the services for these people. Can you do anything to roll back the Medicaid expansion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question.
Okay,
in fact, John Bel Edwards' whole strategy was to use the Medicare program to create another 500,000 voters for himself. And we can't have a system of government that takes it from them, gives it to them, so they vote for me. That doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah.
And, it's unfair for the people who do deserve the Medicare program. And so we're going to have to look at everybody that signed up and figure out in the state budget whether it can be, if you can afford it. It's $150 million this year, but it goes to $250 million pretty soon because the portion of the state has to pay for increases every year.
Yeah.
So his little strategy of adding $500,000 people to the rolls of Medicare and making them subservient to government and making them dependent on government, it's not going to help get him reelected.
I wanted to mention to Mr. Gary that the biggest racket in the legal industry seems to be elder financial fraud and theft and the cover-up of elderly abuse. And we have lawyers interfering in EPS investigations to obstruct the elderly targets from having one-on-one discussions with the EPS investigator. And that's after they're in the hospital with known violent offenders, given the appearance of legitimacy as caregivers that have arrest records under different aliases for elderly abuse. I personally am looking to push for legislation, but as I'm reading, the governor can do it as a directive to where every complaint made to EPS is placed into a central database for the state police to review to see what is of a criminal nature that can be moved on right away.
So if your question is, can the governor get involved? Yeah.
Yeah. And to ensure that a police report is filed, that the state police escort the local police jurisdiction to the location of the complaint.
Okay, let's talk about the judicial system and lawyers in general. I drove in town today, and I drove past 12 billboards that said, "Let me get you $400,000, whether you got hurt or not." Pretty much is what it's saying. So our judicial system is completely skewed, and the lawyers have completely lost control of themselves relative to providing justice, is what they're supposed to be providing. So we've got to fix the problem of there's 4,000 lawsuits being filed every year in the city of New Orleans for liability automobile accidents. There's only 800 in the entire state of Mississippi. That's 4,000 just in New Orleans. So we got to fix that. We got to turn. You can't have an economy in the city that's driven by people suing each other. Everybody that's an insurance holder in Louisiana pays $100 a month extra in insurance because of this. So we have to solve that problem. And there's a myriad of things that we need to do. We can get to them all one at a time.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'll be short. I just wanted to follow up on the prison reform comment. So I'm against the whole prison reform movement, and I just don't think it makes any sense. But I don't understand why you drag Trump into it, considering the fact Trump just had his own prison reform law that he passed, and he did it because Kim Kardashian and Kanye West asked him to. So be against prison reform, but don't support Trump for that reason. I mean, Trump is totally for prison reform, and he even pardoned people.
Well, I spent 3.5 years as a deputy in Orleans Parish Prison.
Yeah.
And I saw it from the inside, from the bottom, and I participated in the federal program that was first introduced by Charlie Fody called Restitution. And it was a great program. They're not doing it anymore. But what happened was, if you're a little old lady on the corner and they knock you down, took your purse and took you $200, and then you couldn't pay your rent, well, it was a big problem. Even though the guy went to jail and they did catch him, she never got her $200 back. So they made the program called Restitution, where he had to go to work and earn the money and give her $200 back. So I think that's a very important component of criminal justice. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people getting arrested that shouldn't get arrested because the police departments, sometimes the policemen get a little angry or a little upset and decide to arrest somebody, and they shouldn't be arrested. So I think we have to have a barrier between getting arrested, people who don't deserve to get arrested, and people who do. The second thing is who's getting charged and for what. Nonviolent criminals should get a summons. Violent criminals need to go to jail and stay in jail. But if you're a nonviolent criminal, putting you in jail, what is that going to do for anybody? It's just going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. It's going to harm you. You get arrested and you get a criminal record. You can't get a job anymore. You add that up, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and all of a sudden you've consumed your own society, and the society is destroyed. And that's what's been going on for the last 40, 50 years in New Orleans. There's thousands and thousands of people getting arrested, and we've got to stop that.
Yet, a lot of the people that are committing the violent crime seem to be eluding police.
Correct. You can commit a murder, and all of a sudden you're on the streets again. Figure that out. And you're back. So we put the focus on the people who are causing the problems, which is the violent criminals, and put them in jail, and that's the purpose of jail, is to protect society, is to keep them away from society so they can't harm anybody. And now, when they go in jail, you got to have some type of help for them. You can't just, 10 years later, let them out in the street and they go back to doing what they're going to do.
Well, that's what was interesting in this criminal justice reform. When they let all these prisoners out, they just threw them out. I mean, there wasn't any kind of a program.
Well, here's $20 and a bus ticket. See you later.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have any kind of a transition at all. So it was a real problem. And, of course, you had all those that we just talked about earlier that have gone back into crime. I think it was roughly 30% of those thousands of prisoners released and went back into crime, and 6 have been charged with murder.
Well, let me give you this little story. I was carrying William out of the car on Frenchman Street, 2200 block where his mother used to live. And as I got out of the car, there was a guy standing in the street. I looked at him. He had a gun in his hand. He was aiming it down the street. Next thing I know, he started shooting, and I looked down the street, and the guy about a block away was shooting at him. And I'm in the middle of this gunfight between these two.
And where was this?
On Frenchman Street, in the 2200 block.
Wow.
I crawled on the ground. It was one of the lowest days of my life because I had to crawl on the ground like a snake to escape these two monsters that were shooting at each other over what? Who knows? Drug deal going wrong. And so we went in, we called the police. The police came, took the report and everything. And then they did an interview with me. So I was telling everybody about how, we almost got shot and they need to do something about this. Well, guess what those two guys did the next day? They came back to the house and they dumped 30 rounds into the house that we lived in, my little boy lived in, as punishment for us calling the police. These guys need to get off the street. They need to go to jail. Don't come back out of jail. Look, if you're 18 years old and you got a life of crime, we don't feel sorry for you.
Right.
If you didn't have a mother and a father, that's your problem. Okay, we can't make all these excuses for anybody anymore. If you did something wrong, you got to pay the price for it, period. Go to jail, spend your time in jail, and when you get out, we're going to make sure we have a program for you where you're going to become a productive citizen. You're not going to just get thrown back into the street.
All right, Gary Landry, thanks for being with us. It's been a pleasure. We covered a lot of ground, and good luck on your campaign for governor. So your billboards are up, your website's up. You'll have a phone number.
The bus is coming. We're going to be in the bus riding, and we're going to go around. And we're going to start soliciting our campaign.
Yeah, and we're going to link to your website on our podcast page, and we'll have you back on.
GoGaryGovernor.com.
All right, GoGaryGovernor.com. Running as an independent, conservative, Trump-supporting candidate for governor. All right, right here on Ringside on WGSO.